Hello. So here we are. We're on our second part of some core fundamentals of the language C sharp. And from this one, I'm going to show you how to do a for loop and also how to use a if-else command. And finally, we will be going over switch statements. Lovely. And we will put them in a new function. So that we'll call this one test commands for want of something to pluck randomly out of the air, all completely unrehearsed. I'm going to shove this at the bottom. I'll leave all this in for reference, so we know it's going to be a static only because it's in this thing. Normally you just put a void, but as where we're actually doing our test stuff, you make sure you have a static, your void, and then we've got test commands, brackets, be nothing else. Press enter, squiggly bracket, press enter again, and that's it. That's our framework done for our function test commands. All right. So first things first, and I'm going to show you how to do a comment. I'm going to start introducing you to different things. So we are going to put a comment in, and there's the one I'm going to be using a lot is just a double slash. Just do this, and you notice it's gone green, so that's a comment. So the compiler will ignore everything after this line. These two slashes is comment. So in here, so I will put for loop. Okay, this is very simple to do. And I'm also going to introduce you into the wonders of, let's say, templates which will aid you when you do certain commands within Visual Studio. So I'm just going to type for, because that is our command, for. Now what I'm going to do, as it's highlighted on for, I'm going to just press tab again. Whoa, it's actually done the whole command for us, and it's highlighted the first variable. Now that means that I can change that I, because I don't want to call it I want to call it something else. So, and then it will change all three instances of it, and we'll go over what it's actually added. So first things first, and I'm going to change that into, we just call it index. So I'll just call it capital I index, and then press tab, and it's highlighted length, so we want to change that. So I'm going to make that 10. So what have we got there? If I press tab again, it's finished. So in here, it's without doing hardly any typing, we've got our command all completely structured. So what it's done is done for, and it's done a standard int, but I'm going to quickly change that, make things very consistent, because throughout this we'll be using the int32. Okay, it does add a little bit more functionality, but basically it's an int32, which is the same as an int. And we have an index, so we know it's an integer of whole numbers, and we are assigning 0 to it. We've then got, within these brackets, a semicolon, and there's another one where it then says index, and this symbol here is less than, and that value is 10. So you think, so that condition is index less than 10. That is what it checks for when it continues to loop. So it assigns index with 0, and then it checks, continually loops around while index is less than 10. So then we've got an index, and we've got these plus. So that is an abbreviation for index plus 1. We could do index equals index plus 1, and that is exactly the same. So we're adding 1 to index, but there's an abbreviation which is plus. Lovely. So, and in here I am going to use our debug command so we can see it coming out. I'm going to go debug right line, and I'm going to put index equals, and then move away, and I'm going to put plus, so we want to print it, and then put index, and then I'm going to do semicolon at the end. Lovely. So we have our print line, it says index equals, and it will display index. Alright, so let's just run that. And I'm just going to get rid of that little white noise there, the white spaces. So running F5. And whoa! Right, so we've got our game running. Now I'm just going to ignore the game, and I'm just going to go to our window here. I'm using my middle mouse wheel to go up and down, and you see that it's still got our debug print in there for the num1 and fnum2, and now we've got our index values, and lo and behold, it's actually looped through. So it started off with 0, it's incremented 1, gone round the loop again. The conditional check, which is here, is saying if it's less than 10, continue. Alright, so it has done, and it continues all the way along, adding 1, which is this command here. So it adds 1, and then goes along, and then when it gets to 9, it's okay. So it's obviously incremented 1, gone through to condition, it's now equal to 10, or greater than 10, but it's equal to 10, which fails this condition, and it quits out of the loop. So this is a for loop. It's a very simple way of signing a value and checking its value after the value's change, and if it's within that condition, as i.e. in this part of the command, it then allows you to continue within the loop. And what we've done, we've displayed index. So that's basically it. So I'm just going to, in here, put another command, and I'm going to put assign. So this is the sign part of the instruction, and in there I'm going to put compare, or is it condition, okay, and then put another space, and then put increment, okay. And I'll shove that there. Ignore the fact it's gone over. So that's basically what a for loop does. It assigns a value. In this case, we've assigned index with 0. We're checking our condition. So while that condition is while index is less than 10, it will continue to loop, and it's incrementing index. Lovely. That's as simple as that. What we're going to do now is just create out the debugger. We're going to run this through the debugger just quickly. So I'm going to F9 here. So we put a breakpoint there, and I'm just going to press F5, and we should come up to our start of the test function. You notice in locals there is only one variable, and that is index, and it's unassigned, so it's 0. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to press F10 to single step. Now watch where the cursor marks. So I'm going to press F10, and it checks the condition. Right, the condition is less than 10. It will then go into the actual right line command. So if we press that, if you have a look at the screen here, you see index equals 0 as been printed out. We then go back, and it's at the bottom of the loop. So it's finishing the loop. So it then goes back. Oh no, yeah it does. It then increments after it's done the loop. So if we do that, we can see, looking at this window, index is 1. It's then checking the condition. No, it's less than 10. So it then goes into the loop, prints that command, so it's 1, then finishes the loop, increments index, then goes back, checks index less than 10, goes through the loop, and continues like this. And you'll see the index is slowly printing out as it goes through. Lovely. So that's great. Here's a challenge for you. I want you to repeat this whole command, but you want to initialize your index with 10. You then want to check to make sure that it's greater than 0. There's a little bit of a clue here, less than, greater than. Hopefully you'll understand the symbols, but greater than 0, and then you want to -1 or decrement, and there is a shortcut very similar to the increment to make it -1. Okay, and then you want to print what index is and type it out. So basically block copy that for loop and then change it so index starts at 10, checks if it makes sure it's greater than 0, and then do a -1 on index. Okay, and I will pause and yeah, and let you have a go. I should put music in. All right. Hopefully you pause the videos when I say pause. All right, so how do we do? So first things first, block copy this, and then we'll place it there. We'll do a little bit of things here. Now I am going to now do index equals 10. That's what we want to do. So change that value to 10. Now we want to make sure it's greater than 0. Now less than and greater than are very similar. So this is less than, and greater than is the total opposite. It's this way. So it's greater than. You notice that index has got a greater part than the other values, so it's greater than. And up here you see index has got the smaller part and 10's got the greater part, so it's less than. And we want to make sure that that's greater than 0, so if I just make that 0, and finally we want to decrement or -1. Now simply it is this, and that's it. Or you could have done index equals index -1. Okay, but if we do this, then it will just subtract 1 from index. Okay, so let's run this. So save that and we will run. All right. Well, okay, so it's run all the way through. Let's have a look. Oh, there's more out here, isn't it? So we've got index equals 0 right up to 9, and then suddenly index equals 10, and it's starting to count down. So it goes 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and finishes at 1. Perfect, is exactly what we wanted. So we've got 2 loops. One is incrementing the value, and it's checking it's less than 10. So it starts at 0, adds 1, checks less than 10, does the loop. Then our second loop starts at 10 and then checks for greater than 0 and subtracts 1 once it's completed the loop. Okay, now I think that's pretty good for loops. Alright, so now we have if command. Now what we're going to do, we're going to incorporate the if in this first loop. So we're going to go and we're going to say we're going to print out and tell the user if it's an odd or an even number. Okay. There's a way of doing this. Now ignore the way of doing this. Is just purely showing you what the if is. Importantly, focus on the if. So I just suddenly thought this is probably going to be a good check. So I'm going to do if. That is the command. So I could just do if with no space, tab, and it puts that. So it's got true condition in. So what we want to put this is getting a little bit dead. So if index, and then I ignore this because what I'm going to do is basically remove everything but the first bit of that value. We'll go over bits and everything later, but we'll do this one. We'll set that to 0. This is a condition for checking if it's an even number. So we're going to put alright, so we're going to go debug dot right line, and we are going to put index, and I'm going to put plus equals, and I put is a or an even number. Okay, and then put semicolon at the end, and that's that. Okay, so ignore this bit, this bit here. So if I put that, so just put checks for even numbers. Okay, this is just a very simple bit check, because the way bits work, the first bit, if it's set, will always be an odd number. So this is just a simple check for if it's an even number, which is no first bit of that value set. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll press F5, and okay. Alright, so what's happened? Let's have a look at our output. So if we have a look, oh, it's looking good. Right, firstly, 0 is an even number, obviously. It is. 2 is an even number, 4 is an even number, 6 is an even number, and 8 is an even number. Lovely, so it's worked. So we know that 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 are odd numbers. Okay, so what happens if we want to make that odd? Right, so very easy. We will, where's my cursor gone? We will block copy this, and so I just replace that, and in here we will do an else, and then we will put index is an odd number. Okay, so you think, well, so what that does, this else, it says if this condition is not true, as in false, so index ANDed with 1 equals 0. So if it equals 1, it's going to drop through to this else, and that we then know that's an odd number because that is set, and that is then going to display 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 is an odd number. Okay, so let's run and find out. Alright, oh, a lot more has been printed, so let's have a look. 0 is an even number, then index is 1, 1 is an odd number, 2 is an even number, correct, 3 an odd number, brilliant, so it appears to work. Let's just check 9, 9 is, but it hasn't done 10 because that's in the other loop. Okay, so that is an if else. You can extend upon this, but I think this just shows the fundamentals. Okay, so I'm going to do in the next one, in this one, I'm going to add a switch statement just to show you what a switch is like. This is the final part of the command. So we've learned for loops, and we've done an if else command on certain conditions. I'll just go through the conditional checks in a minute, but we'll just quickly introduce you to for loops. So I'm going to put, I'm trying to think what I want to print actually. Okay, so what we'll do is we will, alright, I know what we'll do. So our switch statement, what is the command? It is switch. Lovely. Press tab twice. So it hasn't quite filled it in. So not quite how I would do it, but okay. So we know we need to type something here. So I'm going to put switch index. So what that's doing, it's going to check index with certain conditions. Lovely. So I will do on the conditions, they are actually called a case. So you type case, put the condition in. So I am going to do 10, and then I'm going to open the brackets. I love brackets, and in there I'm going to put break. Now break will stop on that case. So if index is 10, it will come into this, check, and it will be 10, and then we'll do whatever's here. So I am going to just debug right line, and I'm going to put just 10. But do it in a string. Sorry, I've changed my mind halfway through. Alright, and here's a challenge. While I tidy up this one here, is write a case statement for the value 9. So if index equals 9, you want to print to the console 9 in English. So you want to do a string which is NINE 9, and you want to print that to the console if it's 9. Okay, and I will pause and let you attempt that. As I say, when I say I will pause, please pause the video and try this. Lovely. Okay, so how did you do? Right, quite simple. I'm going to do the usual block copy and put it in, and I'm going to change this number here to 9 because we're checking 9. And I'm going to go through here and look at the string because it's not going to be 10, it's going to be 9. So 9 is that. Lovely. So let's just run this and find out what's going on. So hit F5 to run. It all should run. If you've got any typos or anything like that, it will come up with an error and you should be able to sort them out. Oh, lovely. I can see it's starting to work. So we've got our second loop, which starts at 10. So we've got index equals 10, and I've got 10 under it. Lovely. Index equals 9, I've got 9. But notice it's only on them two is something. All the others, there's no strings. So it's only on them conditions that it's set. Lovely. So what we're going to do is, now you can quickly do this, is to do a case statement for all the other values. And put in the English equivalent for the number in the debug right line command. And I will just pause and yeah, and I will show you how I would do it when we come back. Okay, so hopefully you've done that quite straightforward. It's very repetitive. This is the the worst of saying 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is the worst example of code, but it shows you a switch statement. So we've got 8, so we just change that to 8. We have 7, and change that to 7. 7 spelt with a D. And 6, and we'll change that to 6. And 5, change it to 5. Ignore any spelling errors. 4, I think I'm doing quite well for spelling. 4, yeah, because my dyslexia is quite bad. Sometimes mine goes and I can't spell anything. I do struggle even on the first letter. The word I can't picture the word in my head. Certain words I use all the time and I can do it, and if I visualize the word on a piece of paper and I can see it and then spell it, apart from that, no, nothing's going to come out. So this one's 3, just do 2, so we've got, after this got one more, so quickly type 2, and then we've got 1, and then we will type 1. Lovely. That's looking good. I think you know what's going to happen. We're going to press F5, have a look at the console output. Oh, looking good. Okay, so here it is. So we have index 10, 10, 9, 9, 8, 8, blah, 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 all the way to end. Index 1 with 1. Lovely, it's all worked. Brilliant, so that will conclude the end of this tutorial. I'm I'm tempted to introduce another thing of arrays, but I think I'll wait until we start doing some programming. There's nicer ways of doing this, but in essence, we haven't broken anything. It is a simple switch case. Switch statement which has got 10 cases in there, and to cover for other values of index, it's got a default which I think you must have anyway, really, and it catches it and just ignores it, or else it's wrong because it might error. Always have a default in switches, but when we go along, I will introduce you to these things when we go into slightly more complex things. Okay, so there was one thing, conditional checks. I will go over that because it's quite important. Now here we have a conditional check. It is there, it's in equals, but there are two of them. Because that is, we're doing the equals, and because it's a conditional check, there are two. I'm just going to put other stuff. I'm just going to type a command in here. So if index is not equal to 1, if index is not equal to 1, and then we're going to basically print out, so I won't bother typing that out. I will just added far too much there, haven't I? We're going to put index, that's gone on some really weird thing. Index is not 1, okay? And I will do another one where I will put if index is greater than, so we can just do this, greater than, and then we will put 5, and I put index is greater, greater than 5, and I'll put another one which is less. I'm going to do this less than 2. Right, so index is less than 2. Okay, so that's catered for equals, which would be 2 here, and not equals, which is this one, greater than or less than. So these are conditional checks. So let's just quickly run this. Alright, so in our first for loop we should have a few more strings. Lovely. So what have we got? We've got 0 is an even number, 0 is not 1, and 0 is less than 2. So it's right. So all conditions were met. So let's done that. So 1 is an odd number and 1 is less than 2, correct. Then it goes 2 is an even number and 2 is not 1. Okay. 3 is an even number, not 1. 4 is an even number, not 1. 5 is an odd number and not equal to 1. Okay, and then we've got 6 is an even number, not equal to 1, and is greater than 5. And that should be repeated for all of them after that. Lovely. So you can see how conditions, when they're met, will print out accordingly. So hopefully this, if you just follow the debugger or the output and just look and see when they're actually being made, it should start to make sense. And here's the format. So this is not equal to, that one's equal to, this one's greater than, this one's less than. If you use this for a reference with the wording, you should be able to see this, and you can visually step through and see conditions that are met and when it's going to print it. Lovely. So I think that will definitely conclude this tutorial on the basic fundamentals of some commands which help you program. Hopefully this will help, and in the next one I think we will start our game, which will be one eventually will be classic Space Invaders. I think we might, I'm thinking about it, we might write 2 games or several games as we develop our libraries. This is ongoing. I don't want to just knot together an ugly piece of code which just shows you the fundamentals, as you will see on YouTube with other people have done that. No offense, but I'm going to give you a set of professional libraries. We'll go through them together. It will take a while, several videos, but at the end of this you will have a firm understanding of the core fundamentals of gaming, on how to program, and you will have Space Invaders and another game. Lovely. All right then, so any comments, please put them in the comments below, and subscribe if you haven't, and yeah, hit that like button, and I will catch you on the next video. Thank you very much.